Welcome back. And now for part 2.
It's sad when Willow tries the froth on her nose to get Xander to react like he did in the graveyard. He's not at all present with her. He's consumed with thoughts of Buffy. But it's such a cute moment that she does that and looks at him expectantly. The Master's skull looks very cool when it's unearthed. It looks like the teeth that Mark wore.
Yes.
I thought that was a great job of the makeup effects there.
It was a really nice reveal. Slowly we start to see the top of the head, then the eyes, and then we get to the mouth. And yeah, it is a really beautiful contrast there.
Buffy continues being mean and cruel to Angel. She's seductive with Xander. She's acting out. It's not fair to Xander, Willow, or Angel. The lighting is really sexy. With the music, the sequence is just so effective. It's hypnotic. It's like watching a car accident in slow motion. The sensual music that Buffy seduces Xander to on the dance floor is Chibo Motto's Sugar Water, and it is just perfect for it.
They even have their own spotlight happening during the dance.
They do. As happens sometimes when you're dancing.
Yeah. So just in case, everybody that they're trying to make jealous or push away isn't paying enough attention to them, we give them a spotlight.
In the alley, Buffy rudely disses Cordy, who uncharacteristically is offering sage advice. She can see that Buffy is in pain and acting out. The line, which includes spank your inner moppet, which I spoke about in part 1 when James and I were on KTLA promoting Slayers, is spoken in this scene by Cordelia. Then Cordy is kidnapped, and we see that Jenny has been too. One thing that's very empowering about Buffy is that she, a young girl, can go anywhere alone. She can go to a cemetery at night and not be worried. She isn't afraid of anything. We worked with Kristen Bauer, who played Pam on True Blood on our documentary series, which we plan to release next year. And Kristen said that she found playing Pam so freeing. In real life, when in a parking lot alone, she holds her keys between her fingers and she keeps extremely vigilant. She said it was liberating as a female to play a character who doesn't have to have those limitations, who doesn't worry about physical strength and the possibility of being physically overwhelmed. Wouldn't it be kind of amazing to live like that? I felt like that too, playing a character who lives without those constraints. But I've never felt in the real world.
I felt it for about 6 months of my life. And interestingly, this kind of circles back to what Buffy is dealing with. After losing my parents, there was a good 6 months where I wasn't afraid of anything. And considering the fact that even clowns, there was 6 months that I was not afraid of clowns. I could have walked into a circus. I could have gone right up to a clown and honked his nose and not been afraid. So I think there are times when the thing that we're afraid of happens.
Yeah.
Then we start to look and say everything else is nothing compared to our greatest fear coming to reality. So, we're back with the clowns again. But for 6 months, there was a little more swagger in my step.
And when it started to come back, would you negotiate with yourself? Wait, before I was able to be fearless about this.
Oh, no. It just came back, punched me in the stomach, and it's like, oh, okay, now I remember who I am. It's fine.
But that's interesting, you're saying, when you have such a loss or something that's so big and you are having to deal with it, and then you start to look at your other stuff that you've been afraid of and see that it really pales in comparison.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation because it wasn't even like a thought. I just noticed one day, oh, I'm not afraid of the dark. Oh, I'm not afraid of clowns. And then wondering why and realizing, because
That's
something much bigger has already happened.
But did that still affect areas like if you were walking in an alley at night or a parking garage or any of those things that as females we have to be vigilant? Those things you still would have your hair up and your awareness, right? Or did you totally feel like nothing bothered you?
No, I honestly felt like, nothing could bother me. I was untouchable in a way. for good or bad in that sort of situation. I wasn't worried. I was sort of in automatic at that time.
That reminds me of the filmmaker Robert Altman, who was a bomber pilot, and he was supposed to do 5 missions, which was standard, and he did something like 50 and never was hurt. He was unscathed, and therefore he felt completely fearless and untouchable for the rest of his life because he had been there and done that, and he had been invincible.
He faced the worst. And so, yeah, I can definitely see that.
And probably a lot of luck came into that too.
Definitely lucky.
When Buffy goes into the graveyard in this episode, she is potentially off her game. So there is more worry on the part of the viewer than there has been up to this point. Because you do feel like anything could happen and you're not sure she's got it all under control like she's saying. We find out that the vampires are trying to bring the master back. Hooray! The opposite of hooray. Buffy says, "We killed each other." It really promotes togetherness. Angel tells her that she needs help. She taunts Angel to fight. She also says, "I don't trust you. You're a vampire." Spoiler alert. Yes, this may foreshadow events coming up in season 2. Ooh, yahoo, for season 2. All right. When they get to the bronze, it's a decoy, and they realize this. And then Buffy goes to see Xander, and Xander is so disappointed in Buffy, and he says if they hurt Willow, he'll kill Buffy. And we see how much he loves Willow, how much she's like family to him. Buffy is ruthless. She tortures the vampire with a cross, and we've never seen this side of her. We've never seen her do this before. When Buffy kills the first vamp in the ritual, do you know why it is familiar?
Why?
It is used in the opening titles. I think it's so much fun picking out these shots as we go along.
It's a really nice tip to the fans to say, oh, here's something that I know you're going to appreciate.
It is fun picking out, oh, this one they used for the titles, oh, that, as you come upon them, especially in a rewatch. In Star Trek, they always say, never wear the red shirt. Do you know this phrase?
Yes.
Because the red-shirted character is who gets killed. And in the Buffyverse, I think if you're an unnamed vamp in Vamp Face, it's like the red shirt.
Yeah, if you don't have a name, you're pretty much guaranteed to get slaughtered.
I think it's good for Julie Benz that she didn't stay vampire girl number 1. Buffy has a dispassionate look during so much of the fight. This scene highlights her loneliness. She relentlessly smashes the master's bones. Then her feelings release in the aftermath. The release with Angel is how she really feels, and it brings her back into herself, to her authentic self. The next day, Willow and Xander have saved her a seat in class. This shows inclusion. She's loved. The camera work is a slow circular shot, which is perfect to communicate that she's reintegrating with her chosen family. They support her and they forgive her. She does have connection. They're all connected. A circle is connected and continuous. The tag with the Anointed One saying, "I hate that girl." It's really funny.
It was really unexpected.
Yeah, and it sets up that there's going to be more with the Anointed One as well. But it's also good because we've gone through the emotion and the release and then the connection, and then we get a little bit of a laugh as well.
You need that deep breath after everything that's happened.
Yes. So as far as the relatable theme, Dev and I have some of these coping or lack thereof coping mechanisms from our childhoods, ways that we managed to get through that no longer serve us well. In fact, they're detrimental now. And we talk about this when symptoms arise. We interviewed Wendy Blanco and Pallavi Darwin for the bonus extras of our film, A Place Among the Dead. Wendy is the director of counseling services and trauma recovery at Peace Over Violence. She is a licensed clinical social worker with more than 18 years of experience working in the field of trauma and has a private practice as well. Pallavi Dalwin is the director of domestic violence policy for the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. She received the 2019 Los Angeles County Bar Association Prosecutor of the Year Award. I called Wendy, and she said that she can talk about treatment for PTSD all day. She employs all of the options I discussed in part 1. Pallavi brought up something interesting regarding the diagnosis of PTSD in the courtroom. She said that this can be mistaken for uncooperativeness by law enforcement or prosecutors. It can be a double-edged sword, used to discredit or misunderstand victims and used to try to excuse actions of perpetrators. But if we get into who is a perpetrator, it can get a little more complicated. For instance, if a domestic violence victim acts in self-defense and is charged with a crime against their abuser, their self-defense claim could be rooted in a reasonable fear based on a history of violence committed against them and of PTSD. Pretty terrible stress for demons. And not demons. What is it that you related to in the episode, Sire Rebecca?
Oh, it was fear. Once you face something that makes you deal with your own mortality, it's easy to put up walls and boundaries and to keep people away from you. And a lot of times it's because you think you're helping them out.
Like you're not burdening them, like you don't want to burden?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people worry about how to be supportive, what to say in times of crisis. And so I instantly rush to, well, you don't have to worry about that because everything's fine. And in my head, I'm taking the weight off their shoulders. I'm taking the stress off of them. But at the same point, I am protecting myself in my head, but in reality, just separating and putting up these walls. And vulnerability is one of the hardest things for me. And for a lot of people, I think it's easier to be self-sufficient than it is to be vulnerable. Only in being vulnerable are you actually being strong. In being vulnerable, you're helping not just yourself grow, but you're also helping the other people who want to participate. You're allowing them to grow as well.
I agree with that because people think often that vulnerability is weakness or fragility, and truly being open and vulnerable is strength. It's like a superpower. And if you can be open with the right people, you obviously, I like to say, keep your lobster shell on with the wrong people because you don't want to open and vulnerable with the wrong people, but with the right people, you know, your team, your posse, like Buffy's crew, it gives you so much more strength to be genuine.
Yeah.
What is the line from this episode that you would get as a tattoo?
It would be when Cordelia says,
Is it possible to have too much character?
I love that one. That's great. Mine is another Cordelia one when she says,
Whatever's causing the Joan Collins tude, deal with it.
and also I love when Giles says to Buffy,
Punishing yourself like this is pointless.
and Buffy says,
It's entirely poignant.
what about you, Drew? Spank her in a muppet because I like your KTLA story and because spanking is always good.
Enough of something extremely different.
Different.
I used to work out at Gold's Gym. A lot of actors did. Jodie Foster, Ron Perlman, Brendan Fraser, Alyssa Milano, Mickey Rourke, among others. One day, this massive bodybuilder type comes up and says, "Hi, darling. You're Juliet, yes? I'm Brian. I absolutely love your work." I thank him, and he tells me I'm an actor too, in adult films. We end up having a similar workout schedule, and the next time I see him, he informs me that he's off to Vegas for an award expo event and that he's up for an award. So the next time I ask him how it went, and he says, "I won, darling. I really love playing villains." That is something that you know a thing or two about. In this movie, I channeled a bit of Drusilla. I play a policeman. There's this very cool scene where I pull these guys over and I make them straddle, and it goes on from there. And I'm certain you can imagine. I'm like, yes, I can imagine. Another time when I was on a machine, he sidled up to me, he squeezed his pecs, and he said, "Yes, darling, you can never have too much cleavage." And I started laughing, and I looked at his massive chest, and I said, "I think you have a lot more cleavage than me, Brian." It's massive. So at this time, I had this 88-year-old neighbor, Sonia, whose husband had sadly passed away recently at the time. Now, let me paint a picture of Sonia. She was exceedingly prim and proper, a transplant from the South. She always wore her hair pulled back in an excruciatingly tight bun. She'd had cataract surgery, so I asked if she needed anything from the market, that kind of thing. She lamented that she couldn't go herself, and so I offered to take her. I said I could push her wheelchair and read the items, which she actually didn't need because this market had been the same for 10 years. So all I had to do was go aisle by aisle from one side, and she knew the shelves like the back of her hand. So she wanted to go after rush hour. At about 8 p.m., I got her, and I took her to the market. I was pushing her through the aisles when I hear, "Darling, how are you? Oh, fancy meeting you here." And Brian dashes over. I introduce Brian to Sonia, and we chat for a bit. Brian shares that he has a new film, and then he says he's in a bit of a rush, and he extols how great it was to see me and to meet Sonia, and he darts away. And Sonia starts asking, "Is he a known actor?" And I say, "No." And she says, "Have I seen him in anything?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure you haven't." She says, "How do you know?" And I'm like, "Well," and finally I have to say, "He's a porn star." And there's this pall of silence. And I remember thinking, wow, they're playing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head music. That's so dated. What year are we in? This is crazy. And I look at her face and it's turning red, but like bright candy apple red. And all of a sudden she starts choking. And I'm shocked, but I grab apple juice from the cart. I open it. I thrust it into her hands. She takes a big gulp. She starts to calm down. She starts to breathe easily. She starts to return to her normal pallor. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. She starts to look good. And all of a sudden, she cracks a huge smile and she says, "Well, that was fun. Nothing like that ever happens to me when I go shopping alone." What about you?
My mom and I decided to take a trip to Anguilla, and it was the first time that we'd been there. And we were going to be staying at like a small inn and didn't know much about the place beforehand. It was recommended. So when we get off the boat on the island, this woman picks us up who is a guest there. And she starts telling us how she's kind of doing multiple jobs all over the island, helping people out for no money, just because she enjoys helping. So I was like, oh, this is lovely. And she looks like Doris Day. So I just keep staring at her, fascinated. And we get to this property, and it has a couple of like detached rooms and a pool at the center. And the guy who owns it isn't there yet, but his mother is, who is at the time around 95.
I'm weirdly thinking of the Bates motel all of a sudden. Yes.
Definitely, once you hear this, definitely not Bates.
Okay.
We'll call her Mary.
Mary. Okay.
And so just picture 95-year-old very petite woman sitting there crocheting under the sun and, doesn't really say anything other than just kind of nods at us when we come in. And the other woman shows us to our room and we get set up and it's absolutely stunning. You've got a whole wall that's just open to the sea and the breeze is coming in. And so finally the owner shows up and he introduces himself to us and shows us around the property. And he keeps mentioning his mother and he says, she's a little bit trouble right now. I'm like, oh, what trouble could this woman possibly have been getting into? He said, well, her boyfriend is married and he's 40 and his wife was just here and she's upset that he's running around with her. And my mouth is hanging open. And his mother said that she's not giving him up. And so he's torn between these two women. And again, I'm just like, this is fascinating. And so, again, she's just sitting there crocheting quietly, not commenting at all. And only when she goes to stand up do I realize she's crocheting her new bikini.
Oh my gosh.
And this thing was
tiny.
It was a handkerchief at best. But just very matter of fact, she holds it up to herself to make sure. And that's when I really get a look. And, she was very well endowed in making sure that the bikini top would fit and the little tiny string bottom. She became my hero in this moment. I want to grow up to be just like this woman. I had the briefest time with her and she has lived in my head for years since. And as you age, have as much fun as possible, like this woman is.
Yeah. And don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes. It's always the quiet ones. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. She was wild with her little crochet bikini.
Yes. Very little. Very, very little.
Itsy bitsy, teeny weeny, crochet.
Little crocheted bikini.
I love that. Oh my God. It's like a novel. Like going into some alternate universe, right? With all of that.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's awesome.
This episode's vampire question is, what was it like the first time you had fangs?
I was in the convent. My stomach was all growly, and then my pointies came out for the first time. It was discomforting. Bong, bong, bong.
What was that?
The church bell. Bong, bong, tolling its desolate chime amidst my unrepentant hunger.
Did you feel it in your teeth?
Yes, they were very, very sharp, like serrated knives. They've got a bit softer over the years.
The teeth we had on Buffy were bulky. They were a full bridge of upper teeth that snapped in. Since then, on other projects, I've worn smaller bridges or just the canine teeth, but these were a bit cumbersome. Before shooting, I did a makeup and hair test, and I asked Todd McIntosh if I could bring a pair of my fangs home so that I could practice. They were really thick, and I didn't think that lisping would seem very serious or scary or threatening. So I brought them home.
Only for saying suffering succotash.
Suffering succotash. Listen, Buffy. Listen to me, Buffy. Suffering succotash. So I got them home and I was working with them, and I used to be a night owl and I was practicing. I really was getting better with them so that I could be more daunting and not keep sounding like that. So after a while, I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to call it a night. And I realized that I wanted to take the trash out because I live in the Hollywood Hills and I didn't want to attract animals into the house. And so I'm about to take the teeth out, but I think it's 2 a.m. Who's going to see? And so I leave them in and I travel downstairs with my bulging trash bag. I heave it into the bin when I hear, "Oh, hi." I look up startled to see a nicely dressed woman coming across the street with an enormous friendly smile on her face. She points at the place across the way and she enthuses, "I'm Joan. I'm your new neighbor." At this point, I'm really not sure what to do. I furtively look around, and of course, there are no distractions at 2 a.m. There's nowhere to go. I don't want to scare the crap out of Joan with my fangs, so I start acting very weird. I'm covering my mouth with one hand, I'm gesticulating frantically with the other. I start backing up toward the stairs. I back up, and then I turn around and I run up the stairs and I'm saying, "It's nice to meet you." And I run in the house and I slam the door. And of course, I'm thinking, oh my God, oh my God. So the next day, I knock on her door. She looks really wary, answering the door with this expression like, oh no, it's the crazy girl from across the street. And I take the time and I explain that I was an actress and I'm starting a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm playing a vampire that I'd had fangs in, and I didn't want to scare the bejesus out of her. And she starts laughing, and then I start laughing, and we're laughing so hard. And she tells me that she's really excited because she'd watched Buffy and she was a fan. Then sometimes we'd actually invite her over for the watch-throughs of the episodes, too, so that was fun later, once I knew that she was a fan. And she was really cool, but it was just a crazy way to meet her.
Pay no attention to my hand here. Look over that way.
Said, look at her, and I was like, because I still was lisping pretty badly. It's nice to meet you. So... But I did get them much less lispy, and so it was a great thing to take them home and work with them.
Yeah, I imagine, anything like that, you really have to get used to it. Anything that is extending what your natural framework is, like, you have longer fingers or...
A pregnancy pad, any of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because Kristen Bauer, who I mentioned earlier, who played Pam on True Blood, she got to set on True Blood and did not have any time with the fangs. And she told me that she kept asking makeup because she knew the scene was coming up. Can I at least get them to just put them in my mouth and start to work with them a little bit? And they kept saying, yes, we'll get them. And she kept saying, I need them, and kept asking. And finally, she was ready, and they ushered her into set for the sequence that she needed the teeth, and they dashed in with the teeth right before she was supposed to shoot. After the rehearsal, she'd done the rehearsal and everything, and she snapped them in, and she proceeded to say, I don't know the rest of the line, but I know the part that was, Thookie Stackhouse. And she said that the entire set of the 250 people burst out laughing hysterically, and she was like, that's what I was afraid of. And she looped it, and she said she ended up looping every time she had the teeth anyway, particularly because she had to say Thookie Stackhouse a lot on that show.
Vampire problems.
Oh,
You're telling me.
The missing scene that could have been in this week's episode.
While the master and I were passing the time down here, we played I Spy, sang show tunes, and did puzzles. He told me some key steps and strategies for jigsaws that should apply to putting his pieces back together.
The Anointed One speaks reason.
We have to choose a suitable workspace that is flat, large enough for the finished master, and won't be easily disturbed. Once we get his bones, a common strategy for sorting the pieces is to separate the border. So let's start with skull and feet. We will need to turn his pieces face up. We can work in sections, breaking the master into smaller, more manageable sections.
Yes, and remember this sage advice. Toe bone connected to your foot bone connected to your heel bone connected to your ankle bone connected to your leg bone connected to your knee bone connected to your thigh bone connected to your hip bone.
Boy, this is gonna take all night.
Your hip bone connected to your backbone connected to your shoulder bone connected to your neck bone connected to your head bone. Dem bones, the master bones.
To keep our spirits up, we can alternate singing dem bones and whistle while you work.
It has been proclaimed.
Oh wait, do you have a name?
No.
Uh-oh.
Let's get ready to Buffy!
Vengeance Val was the victor in our first inaugural Battle of the Uber Buffy fans. If you would like to challenge her title and be considered as a contender for this season's battle, please email revampedpod@gmail.com. Yes, be sure to include your name, where you weigh in with your number of watch-throughs, where you're located, something interesting about you, or something you think would be good to share,
And your social media handles.
Yes, woohoo. Woohoo. Boop boop be Drew. Revamptees, please correspond with me on our Patreon page, Revamped with Juliet Landau, on Twitter, @Juliet Landau, on Instagram, @Juliet_Landau, and on the Fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group, or Juliet Landau official Facebook page. Patreon peeps to be read in the credits: Dave Hall, Fawny June Kendall, Daniel Harbour, Louise Brennan, Brandon Key, Cameron Burton, Donnie Ruskin, Madeline Pruitt, Marion Stevenson, Antonio H. Gutierrez, and Bobby Pelham. It makes all the difference because we cannot keep making the show without you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Until we meet again.
See you next time when we do it again. Do it again. Until then, rewatch, revamp, reinvent, and be remarkable you.